Good evening, good evening, good evening, folks. Welcome to tonight's third front load and another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But first, the usual disclaimers. Itchy back. In the description box, if you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign and the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find in it all the pertinent links. Please, in particular, take note to the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by Autistics for Autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center's so-called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. So please read that article and share it on all your social media. You're also going to see linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC actually sees through with their threat. Also, folks, trigger warning. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center and Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please utilize those headphones. Number 2, trigger warning. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and watching this, very obviously parental supervision is advised. As I am super hungry and tired, probably the next 3 videos are going to be relatively short. We'll see. We'll see if I start ranting again, okay? The FDA construes 396 differently. The agency specifically addressed and rejected petitioners' understanding of 396 when promulgating Rule 85 Fed regulation at 1334546, whereas the petitioners believe that a device counts as a legally marketed device as long as it can be legally marketed for any purpose. The FDA understands that a device can be the legally marketed device for purposes but not others. That's not what I got from the FDA decision. I thought it was quite clear. They're not trying to tailor use of the item, they're banning it outright. To say that they are tailoring because they are not including the SIBIS device, which is being used for other purposes with the consent of, as well as active using of by the patient, the SIBIS machine makes no coherent sense because even on a design level, these machines are not the same. By you saying they're trying to tailor it by throwing in a device that is completely unrelated and not in question here makes to me 0 sense. Nor does it make sense to anyone outside of the DC Circuit Court. Okay? Let's read what they think the FDA thinks, shall we? Jesus, I thought I wouldn't rant. In the FDA's view, if an agency bans a device for a specific purpose, the device cannot be legally marketed for that purpose. That's not what they said, Karen. Let's rewind this, shall we? At no point did the FDA say that the GED device was being banned for being used as treatment for behaviors. That is not what that judgment said. What that judgment said was the GED device in its entirety was being banned. You are trying to say that they are trying to tailor it because you're throwing completely unrelated devices, ones that are not being used at the Judge Rotenberg Center at all, into this argument. Okay? This is where the confusion lies with me because these devices are not same at all. But I can see how you slimy little snakes were able to get that in there. The fact that you feel like they have to ban every single skin shock device, even when these devices are not the same, even on a design level, is completely bonkers to me. Okay? And it's bonkers to the FDA. All right? The GED is not being legally marketed. It is not being used anywhere else but at the JRC. The fact that they mention what the device is being used for and the damage that it has caused was done for the specific purpose to help the general public understand why the device was being banned, what damage it was causing. Okay? Do you not comprehend or understand this fact? Because I've gone back and reread the FDA decision. Okay? But you can't say that it can't be legally marketed or used for any other purpose. But that here's what's wrong with your argument. It's not being used for any other purpose. Nor is it being used anywhere outside the GED, outside the Judge Rotenberg Center for any other purpose. Means your argument is stupid. Okay? Makes no sense. And because the device then does not count as a legally marketed device in connection with that purpose, 396 is inapplicable to the ban. Now, the reason why you're saying it's inapplicable is you're comparing apples and oranges, throwing them together and say if you don't ban the oranges as well as the apples, that that's not valid. This makes no sense to anyone with two brain cells to rub together. Okay? Why is the FDA not allowed to ban a particular device, which is different starting from the very design level, that has put kids in ERs just because they're not banning all skin shock devices? It does not compute. They are banning a singular device being used for a singular purpose in a singular school. What is there not to understand about this? Okay? It is not that the FDA doesn't understand their authority. It's that you don't want to understand their authority. So you're going to use any cockamamie argument that you possibly can to overturn the decision so you can keep receiving that good old JRC money to line your war chest for campaign season. So your politicians can. Judges, you get what I'm saying here, right? Consequently, the FDA explained in the Rule 396 does not in any way limit the FDA's ability to determine which devices can be legally marketed and which uses for which they can be legally marketed. That's not what's happening here, Karen. Again, they're banning a full out device. Okay? But they can't ban this particular device, even though it's already been proven beyond the shadow of a doubt to cause harm. The question becomes why? Why do they have to do a broad sweep, including devices that are not up for debate here? It follows that electrical stimulation devices manufactured and used at the Judge Rotenberg Center to treat self-injurious and aggressive behaviors are not legally marketed devices due to the ban, and that the FDA's issuing of this rule is in no way conflicts with Section 396, because it doesn't to any thinking person with two brain cells to rub together. Most of us who've been in this fight for decades, literal decades, understand and can wrap our brains around the fact that the GED device stands apart. That the GED device, unlike its predecessor, which is still being used, the SIBIS, is not being used on the larger market. It's being used in one place for a singular purpose. Okay? Most of us can wrap our brains around that. So why are we not able to ban it like we ban any other defunct device? Okay? That becomes the question here. When you have a singular device, not stop with all the skin shock devices, stop your nonsense. When we are talking about a singular device used in a single place that is not largely available, like they're trying to push here on the larger market, nor is it being prescribed by anyone outside of the Judge Rotenberg Center after mountains of evidence for the harm it has done. Why can that device not be banned without including completely unrelated devices? I think it's a good question. We're going to close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please, folks, don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit those comments. I do appreciate your time tonight. And as always, folks, we here at Smelling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'll see you in another few minutes.